Hey everyone, thanks for joining. This will be a quick look at deployment pipeline we built at Kantan and how we implemented deployment previews for React Native. So just to introduce myself, I'm Hentie. I'm a software engineer at Kantan. And you?
I'm Cam. I'm an architect developer at Theodo UK. So a little bit about Theodo. So we're a startup that helps other startups build digital products. And we worked with Kantan for the initial MVP phase to build their app and also lay the foundations for the current phase that they're working on. And
what Kantan are doing, what we are doing as a company is we're helping trades professionals work smarter. That's the tagline. That's our mission of what we're trying to do. And the way we're doing this is through building an app. And this is an app for gas engineers and electricians and plumbers and that sort of thing to help them to automate some of the tasks they do manually. So they spend a lot of time doing these manual tasks, and we just help them to do that more easily. And would be things like scheduling their jobs and sending notifications to customers.
So Kantan have a big vision for the sort of stuff that they're trying to build. So a bit more context on the kind of technology that we were using behind the product. So we're using React Native, obviously, TypeScript, GraphQL, and we're using App Center and Code Push for deployments.
So when we first built the app, the initial pipeline we came up with is something like this. When code is merged to master, we run the tests, which are like jest tests, UI tests, like detox, and then we do a deployment of the code. There's like a native deployment to App Center and a code push deployment on the UAT environment, followed by a manual approval step, which would then push it to production. The pull request pipeline just does the first bit of that. It does the jest test and the UI tests, and if those pass, then you can merge it into master to run the rest of it. And this worked pretty well. However, there was a problem with this. It's hard to preview a PR on a real device before merging. The tests are passing and you know it's working functionally, but designers want to get it in their hands, and they want to play with it and see how it feels and what it looks like, and like really inspect it. Now it's possible to upload this to a test device or to upload this to your developer device and show the designer or things like that, but this can be quite hard because it needs like a synchronous interaction to make that happen. And especially now that everyone's working from home, it's quite hard. You need an easy way for a designer to just get that PR on their phone and look at it, and you can just send them a message and they can have a look when you're ready for them to see it. So the challenge then was, we were thinking, what do other platforms do? And web apps specifically have solved this to an extent. Like they support deployment previews with hosting solutions like Netlify. Like when you raise a PR for your changes, you can go to a unique URL and look at those changes before they go live. And we drew inspiration from that, and we thought, is there a way we can replicate this with native apps? So the approach we came up with, like, since we're already using App Center and Code Push, this is a way of easily and quickly pushing out changes. Can we somehow leverage that to get this effect? So the approach we came up with is on GitHub, for each pull request, we push a bundle for that pull request to App Center, where the development app can access it. So it's only for the development app, not for the UAT or production apps. Those are separate apps in App Center. So we'll walk you through the process of how we went about implementing that. The first step is, of course, to upload these builds as I just described. The way we did this with App Center, if you're familiar with App Center, it's got this idea of named deployments. For each PR, we create this named deployment, which is like a bucket for bundles of different versions of bundles. So you create a bucket with a name that matches the PR name, and you push on each PR. When you create the PR, you create that bucket, and then you push the new version to that deployment. And there's like the CLI command that we used to do that for people that are interested or familiar with App Center. But the effect of that is, like, if you go to the App Center interface, you can see there's a drop down of the branches, an example of what we've created. And for that selected branch, you can see multiple versions pushed to that named deployment as you do more updates to that PR. And these are then available through code push. This one extra bit of technical detail, like sometimes you do need to make native changes, which require like a full build that you can't just deploy through code push. We've got some logic around that and how we handle that. We see if the app version has been incremented. If it has been, we do a native build. And we've got some scripts to help you check, like if you've changed certain files, then it says like, okay, the app version should have been incremented. So it expects a native build in certain cases. This can lead to an edge case where you have two PRs both incrementing at the same time, and you end up with two new versions. And this can cause a conflict, but this is an edge case that we don't deal with automatically. You'll see two apps with the same version in App Center, and you'll just have to communicate with the designer or whoever to tell them which version they need to download. And eventually this will sort itself out as you do more PRs and more version bumps. So after all of that, this is what the new master pipeline looked like for the PR. We just have the same master pipeline, but the updated pull request pipeline now matches the master pipeline more closely with the added development environment there. We do run all the tests, and if they pass, we do possibly a native deployment and a code push deployment on the PR.
Cool. So now we've got all of these named deployments in App Center for all of these pull requests that we're opening. So now how can we leverage those in our development app? So we want to be able to choose one of those deployments and get an automatic update, just like a deployment preview. So here's how we did that. So first we do a simple get to the App Center API. We get a list of all of the deployments, which are created every single time we open up a pull request. So we've got that list. Then we're also going to want to fetch a bit more data. So from App Center, we also want the metadata about the current deployment name. So we're going to use that to display in our developer menu to say, this is the current update that you're looking at. And then we also want some extra data from our device info. So we want the current bundle version. So we're going to use that then to filter out the compatible builds. So we're going to compare the bundle version that we just got from device info and compare that to the minimum bundle version from our current update and see which are compatible and filter the rest out. So then whack some more buttons on there, and we've got this handy dandy developer menu. You can see under available versions there's some gibberish, which is our current deployment name. Should be named, it says UI fix jobs list header, so that was one of our branch names. And then you've got a menu of updates, so those are the filtered ones that you can press. So what's left? When you want to hit one of those buttons, what do you want to do? You want to download the update from App Center. You want to show some download progress, and then just restart the app for the user with the currently selected update. And then we've got a quick little demo. Kantan team is constantly growing, and they've got a never-ending list of features. So I'm seeing loads of pull requests, and I'm also seeing lots of frantic scrolling on that developer menu to try and find the feature that the design team actually want to look at. So we probably don't need all of those previews once the pull request has been merged and the branch has been deleted. So let's get rid of some of those. So what did we use? We used AWS Lambda, Terraform to automate the setup, and we used GitHub webhooks to trigger this action on the branch deletion. So what's the flow? So we've tested the feature in the developer app as we've been iterating, and now we're done. So here's the flow on branch deletion. We're going to merge a pull request, delete the branch. The GitHub webhook is going to pick that up on the branch deletion, and that's going to trigger a Lambda function. So all that's going to do is quite simple. It's just going to call the App Center API and delete the iOS and Android deployments for those given release names. And remember, we named all of our deployments with the branch name, so those are quite easy to find. And there you go. You've prevented all of that scrolling, and your developers are having a great time. So that seems quite involved. It was in the end. As of January, there are now GitHub actions for code push. So now you can do arbitrary actions with the App Center command line interface. So if you're going to try out this implementation, I would recommend looking into that implementation.
So in summary, we now have deployment previews. When you have the developer app, you can go to developer menu, and you can see a list of all the different PRs that are open. You click on one and you can see what that looks like. And once you've looked at that and you've played around with it, you can see it working. You can merge to master confidently and frequently. And your designers and your product owner will be happy. So next steps, well, as we mentioned, GitHub Actions are now available for code push, and I think that would simplify things quite a lot. The Lambdas work well, but it's just unnecessary infrastructure that's part of the pipeline at the moment. And I think GitHub Actions will make that quite nice and easy to maintain. Other potential things we were thinking of, well, improved pipeline performance, that's always something we're looking at. So anyone who has any good ideas on how to do that is always come have a chat with us. But it's always good to get it faster and get the feedback loop faster and faster on the pipeline. And then blue sky thinking, what if we added something like QR codes to download full builds? It would be nice if you could just, instead of having to go to App Center to find the best native version to preview this PR, if you just had a QR code you can scan, your phone automatically goes to the right native build that you can just download and then test it. So just things that will make the feedback loop faster and get people testing and seeing the features more quickly. Or any other ideas we could be thinking of after this. That's it. Thank you so much for listening and having a look at what we've done. And if you have any questions, come talk to us. Thanks.